Hey everybody, it's me, William Russell, Program Director. This is Kevin,
Howdy.
and we just wanted to film this little video to kind of demonstrate something that I'm hoping that everybody will get a chance to work on before this summer, or at least during this summer, which is looking at your merit badges and trying to think of how can you improve the merit badge instruction. One thing that we're trying to up our game on is merit badges where it kind of seems like there's just a lot of verbal instruction, or even just requirements that have a lot of verbal instruction, even if the general merit badge is fun, and trying to elevate them a little bit, make them a little more exciting, a little more engaging, and to just have better quality instructions so that the scouts actually learn more. There are a few ways that you can do this, but we would recommend that you take a look at one of the merit badges, talk to your area, and see like which merit badge do we most want to look at. Today, Kevin and I picked one from EcoCon because we've both worked there, and we chose
Soil and water conservation.
Why did we choose soil and water conservation?
I think soil and water conservation gets a bad rep, partly earned, for being one of the more lecture-like, I'd say.
Yeah.
In that a lot of it is just a counselor that maybe doesn't know the material well enough, as is the case a lot of times, just sort of talking at the scouts for a lot of it. And scouts get this idea that it is boring and doesn't really have a lot of the fun or excitement that a lot of other badges do.
Yeah, so after picking our merit badge that we wanted to look at first, we tried to identify a couple things. One, is there a requirement that could be like the big draw for this merit badge? Something that stands out a little bit, like for shooting sports, you have like the actual shooting qualification, okay? Everybody knows when I go to do shotgun shooting or rifle shooting that I'm going to be able to do this and it's going to be fun, right? We also tried to identify another requirement that seems like it just has to be information. It just needs to be me talking at them and trying to take one of those less engaging requirements to try to elevate it to just make the whole badge better. Here are a couple suggestions on what you can do after you identify those badges or those requirements in the badge to make them more engaging. First is look at the EDGE method. Make sure that you're explaining and demonstrating, but also guiding and enabling so they can actually acquire a skill rather than just getting information. Try to gamify it, try to make it a competition, put a nice new goofy spin on it with the way you instruct. Try to change up how you deliver the information. If you just have been verbally telling scouts things, try to figure out where can I put in a visual aid or some kind of hands-on experience, right? Those are the kind of things we're looking to do to improve these badges. And we've got an example that we can share with you of a couple of these requirements.
So one of the first requirements we've looked at, and keep in mind this merit badge has a lot of requirements, and the most important thing by far is just making sure you as a counselor are really familiarized with the topic you're talking about. So going through the pamphlet, making sure you know all these requirements. But then the next step here is making them more engaging and more exciting. So the first requirement we're looking at is requirement 1C, which says name the 3 main plant nutrients in fertile soil, tell how they can be put back when used up. It's a pretty like textbook question, and one of the ways we might go about it and have gone about it is to tell the scouts what those nutrient types are, explain to them how they can be put back, and then have the scouts tell us that information again. Which is, I guess, the bare necessity, but that's not the EDGE method, right?
Yeah, instead of the EDGE method, that's more of like, instead of EDGE, that's more like EQ, explain, and then quiz, which that doesn't really, I mean, maybe they'll acquire that knowledge, but they won't really acquire like a skill or something that they can like take home with them. So we thought of a couple of ways that we could bring it a little more to life, like make it a little more relevant. So why don't you kind of explain what the ideas were that we...
So we were thinking it could play into a bigger thing at the area, maybe a compost bin. We could say have the scouts go and retrieve some food waste or other materials that could go into a compost bin and return certain nutrients to the soil. And of course, the instructor would be telling them, we'd be saying, these are some examples of food. Maybe you'd print out flashcards or other visual aids. And then later they can find some pieces that can go into a compost bin, which you say later we will return to the soil and it'll have a positive impact.
Yeah. And it doesn't, I mean, it sounds like we made it a lot more complicated, but it's not that much more complicated. It just says, instead of just saying, here's what the nutrients are, here's some places you can find it, we have food waste at camp. When I was working at EcoCon, I know that we had like a setup for a compost bin already there. So it's using the things that we already have and just saying, oh, here's how we can apply it to one of these requirements. And again, we need to make sure that they're actually doing the whole thing that it says to do. So as the scouts are, bringing in the stuff that they find to add to the compost bin, we can say, all right, now tell us why you think this is a good choice to include in the compost bin. What's it going to do for the plants? What nutrients is required in this compost bin? And that will fulfill the requirement. They'll be able to talk about how to get those back in the soil and what their nutrients are.
And it always helps if it's like some effort that makes it seem like more fun. We were talking about it being feeding a specific tree or plant that they really like, or we have this tree over here and we've given it a name, and now you can help give it more nutrients so it can beat all the other trees. So It's something the scouts are going to get excited about, and even if they don't get excited about it, it's something unique and fun that will really solidify the instruction more than otherwise.
So the other requirement we looked at was 7E in soil and water conservation. Kevin, you want to read that one off for us?
Yeah, this is going to be: make a list of places in your neighborhood, camps, school ground, or park that have erosion, sedimentation, or pollution problems. Describe how these could be corrected through individual or group action. So as this one stands already, it's already more than the talking requirements. The scouts are getting out and getting about, and they're doing something on their own, and they're doing an evaluation, they're doing some drawing. It's already one of those requirements that we are talking about where it's more action that they might look forward to and correlate the badge with. So the improvements we want to make here are to give it more that sense of style and fun and whimsy and goofy that the camp's all about, and we really want to impart into these badges. And one of the ways I was thinking of, and have been for a little bit, is to give it a little more story. Say, we are deputizing these scouts as members of EcoCon's wildlife service, and they're going to go around to parts of camp and do little reports on how other areas are treating their environment, whether they're by the river or on the mountainside or something, and how their terrain is doing. And they could write a little report and do little pictures, and it would be more fun. They could have a little badge and maybe a little hat, costume hat or something, just to make it feel more whimsical and goofy and exciting for the scouts than just a take-home assignment or project.
Yeah, so this change is just very small, like minor materials, and just adding a bit more of a story and ideas to this badge already, which I think if the requirement is already good and the instruction mode is working, then doing something like that just to make it a little more fun is a cool way to go.
It's really the sort of thing that makes crime prevention such a success story. We picked it up, and it would have been so much more mundane if they just went to a place and went through a checklist. And as it is right now, it's such a hallmark because of how much excitement you put into it. And that didn't have to be there. It was a really smart and really impassioned move to make it as it is, and that's why it's been so enduring and such a point of culture at camp.
Yeah, and it didn't take us super long to think of just a couple ideas to make soil and water conservation like a little more interesting. So my recommendation to all of you is to consider what is the merit badge in your area that could most do for a bit of a glow up, a bit of a makeover, and see what you can do with it. Get together, be creative, and it won't take that long, just a little bit of time and thought, and just to really improve your merit badges. So go out there and do it. Yeehaw! Go get them.
See ya.